Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Michigan lands one of the top players in the transfer portal and former linebacker at Maryland, Jaishawn Barham. Many of you guys see have the Michigan quarter zip on, and those who've been around for the last couple months know the Michigan quarter zip comes on when I like a player. Have to go into the dirty laundry to get it. That kind of tells you how I feel about Jaishawn Barham coming over to Michigan. And the first thing I want to talk about here is this is a guy that's played a ton of football, but still has a lot of meat left on the bone in terms of what kind of player he can be. And coming to Michigan, you kind of know he's going to get that development. We've done a phenomenal job developing linebackers like Mikey Bear, who came in as a 3-star, now one of the best players on this Michigan defense. Obviously, Junior Colson, I think, should be a top 100 pick in the NFL draft. Ernest Hausman coming up, Jimmy Rolder. You look at this Michigan linebacker room, the youth and the talent, you have to be extremely excited about. Going to get into Jaishawn Barham, talk a little bit about why I think he's such a good fit for this Michigan defense. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. A special shout out to the Michigan fans. Many of you guys know there's nothing in this world I love talking about more than Michigan football. The amount of support you guys have shown the boys has been absolutely amazing. Cannot thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We obviously have some work to finish up in the 2023 season, but not too early to take a little sneak peek at 2024, what it is shaping up to be. And let's get into Jaishawn Barham. In Michigan's overall approach in the transfer portal, we've seen it the last couple of years. They're not afraid to go add some names in the portal, but it's a calculated approach. I mean, Michigan is really, really confident with their evaluation out of high school, the guys they have coming up. But we're not afraid to go out and land some guys that are going to be impact players in 2024. And Jaishawn Barham is certainly one of those guys. And as Michigan fans watching this Maryland team, you know Jaishawn Barham. He is a guy that kind of checks every single box you want in an off-ball linebacker, right? 6'4", 235 pounds, has that athleticism to go sideline to sideline, has the size and physicality to play inside the box and stack and shed and make tackles at or behind the line of scrimmage. He's a box checker. And box checkers with good development become kind of NFL all Big Ten caliber guys. And that's exactly what I think Jaishawn Barham can be at Michigan. True freshman year, started all 12 games for Maryland, was a true freshman All-American, played his high school ball with Derek Moore at St. Francis Academy. Taking a look at what Jaishawn Barham's done at Maryland, again, it is rare to see true freshmen start at linebacker. Jaishawn Barham did that. And that kind of tells you where he's at as an athlete and what he's capable of. And has been extremely productive at Maryland his first 2 years. 95 tackles, 9.5 TFLs, 7 sacks. Really good numbers for a young linebacker playing in the Big Ten. Diving into some of the film and some of the deeper numbers about Jaishawn Barham, there's a couple things that really stand out. One, sure tackler. I mean, 7.5% missed tackle rate. That is extraordinarily low for an off-ball linebacker. So that's telling you he knows how to tackle in space. He's not making many missed tackles inside the tackle box. And at the end of the day, the most important asset you can have as a linebacker is making tackles. And Jaishawn Barham makes a lot of them, and he doesn't miss a lot of them. That's the first thing that you like. Really, really good in the run game. 18 run stops in 2023. With the number that I kind of don't think gets talked enough about is average depth of tackle. And for the Michigan fans that have been listening to us for the last couple of months, we've talked about Michigan in their linebacker play has been phenomenal this year. And one of the things that we've said has been so good is they're coming up and making plays at or behind the line of scrimmage. They are not making their plays 7 yards down the field in the run game. Jaishawn Barham's average depth of tackle 3 yards down the field. So what does that tell you? One, he's winning at the point of attack. He's getting, he's getting downhill and he's being physical and making those plays at the line of scrimmage. So I'm a really big fan of that. And maybe the best trait that I like with Jaishawn Barham, and especially in terms of how he fits into this Michigan defense, Michigan loves to send their linebackers on blitzes. And we have some linebackers who can blitz at a very high level. Mikey Bear, Junior Colson, those guys can get it done. Jaishawn Barham, 22% pass rush win rate when blitzing at Maryland. Phenomenal number. That is higher than most elite edge rushers. This is a guy that knows how to get to the quarterback when he's sent on blitzes. Jesse Minter obviously loves doing that. I could see Jaishawn Barham being a real difference maker in terms of being sent on those blitzes. 15 quarterback hurries. You start taking a look at what this linebacker room looks like for Michigan next year. You have Ernest Hausman, who is going to have such a bright future. Both him and Jaishawn Barham are going to be entering their third year of college football. So you have young but extremely talented linebackers who have a ton of experience. And when you combine young talent with a lot of experience, that's when you normally get those special linebackers, right? Junior Colson, going back to his true freshman years, was pretty much starting for Michigan in that 2021 year. Jaishawn Barham and Ernest Hausman have played a ton of football, and they're only going into their third year of college football in that 2024 season. You talk about young, dynamic linebackers, Jaishawn Barham, Ernest Hausman. That is a really good linebacker core. And we only play with two linebackers, right? We play kind of that nickel, and we'll talk about a potential nickel for Michigan next year in just a little bit. These two linebackers could be extremely special for Michigan in that 2024 season. Now, to get to that nickel position, obviously we've been very vocal about how good and how much of an impact Mikey Sandstro's had, not only as a football player, but as a leader in that locker room. Obviously, he'll be going to the NFL draft, getting paid as he deserves to be. We got to replace that nickel. It's a very important role in this Michigan defense, right? Dax Hill played it before Mikey Sandstro. You have Mikey Sandstro playing at an extraordinary high level the last 2 years there. What's it going to be? Uon Stout, a kid from Western Kentucky who played a lot of nickel, but also played that boundary safety, a little bit of what Mikey Sandstro's been doing at Michigan this year, I think would be a perfect fit. Right, one of the more sought-after defensive backs in this transfer portal. You guys see the measurables, right? 5'9", 185, kind of a clone of Mikey Sandstro. He's trending to Michigan. And you take a look at, okay, what's our plan next year for that nickel role? A guy that is good in the run game, can tackle in space, can kind of put his nose in the box, but also be extremely sticky in terms of dealing with those slot receivers. Uon Stout, a guy that's played a lot at Western Kentucky and at an extremely high level, could be one of those guys that kind of comes in and just does that for Michigan in 2024. And you talk about Michigan, the consistency they've had because they use the portal and they use the high school classes, and then kind of they don't rebuild. You just have to reload. And for Michigan, you'll have a lot of people say, oh, yeah, this Michigan team about to lose a ton of starters on defense, lose their whole offensive line. They're going to take a dive in 2024. Not so fast. Because, one, Michigan has a staple of all young offensive linemen that are going to come in and play at a high level, but they also use the transfer portal extremely well. And I think that's probably my favorite approach for Michigan is they're not reshaping their roster in the transfer portal, but what they're doing is they're elevating the existing roster for next year, right? You take a look at what Michigan did last year in the portal, bringing in a guy like Josh Wallace to kind of solidify that defensive back room, replacing Oluwatimi with Drake Nugent, who's been phenomenal at center, adding a few depth pieces to that offensive line. Michigan has done a phenomenal job, not reshaping this roster, but just kind of supplementing it to have a competitive team in 2024. Now, that's not the only news that's happened for Michigan in the last 30 minutes. Obviously, National Signing Day, the bullets are flying. Ohio State obviously struggling to hold on to their class in 2024. Michigan not only just signing all their guys who are committed, adding another commitment to the boat in 2024 in Lugard Edokpayi, and I think I said that last name right, a guy that we haven't talked a lot about as being a Michigan target, but this is exactly what Jim Harbaugh and this defensive staff love to do on the recruiting trail. Kind of reminds me of a guy like David Ojabo. This is a guy that's played primarily basketball, has a ton of length, 84-inch arms, hasn't played a ton of football, right? He's from the state of Maryland. This is a commitment that you're not necessarily going to expect to see him play in 2024. He's going to get in that weight room with Ben Herbert, put on some weight, get up to around 250, 260 pounds. Year 2, year 3, year 4, that's when you're going to start hearing the name Lugard Edokpayi, right? In a very similar conversation to David Ojabo, who came in as a track and field and a soccer athlete who hadn't played much football. He said, all right, we're going to get him in the weight room, get that body right, get him coached up by Mike Elston, and those phenomenal, I mean, we do a phenomenal job developing edge rushers. This is a guy that you're really excited for in the 2025 and 2026 season. And again, why does Michigan have this sustained success? Because their player development, the strength and conditioning program for Michigan, it kind of has a field day with these kind of guys. The guys that might have been a little under the radar from the high school scouts in the college football recruiting world because he hasn't played that much high school football. You get him into the program, you get him developed by what I think is one of the best developmental staffs in all of the country. this is a guy that has a ton of upside. So if you're Michigan, you got Jaishawn Barham, who's going to be an impact player in 2024, but you also have a guy like Lugard, who is going to be a guy for Michigan, maybe not in 2024, but in the future. We're going to be calling this guy's name a lot and often as an edge rusher for Michigan. Love this take. Love what Michigan did in the 2024 class. Love what they're doing in the transfer portal. And obviously, as Michigan fans, we still have business to take care of in this season, but it's never too late to make sure that future is right as well. Massive news for the Michigan Wolverines. Wanted to hop on, talk a little bit about it again. The Michigan fans, can't thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown the boys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.